Family's supposed to be your first layer of protection, right? Your people, your blood, the ones who'd fight for you when the rest of the world turns cold. But what happens when it's your own sister, the one who braided your hair when you were 5, the one who held your hand at your mom's funeral, the one who said, "It's always going to be us, no matter what," who turns out to be the knife behind your back? That's what happened to me. My sister didn't just betray me. She orchestrated the kind of betrayal that takes months to plan, the kind that's done with a smile on the outside and venom behind closed doors. And the worst part? She almost got away with it. My dad died in March. He wasn't perfect, but he was proud. Proud of what he built, proud of us. At least, that's what he told me. We had our moments, fights, silence, then forgiveness. But I was there. I stayed when he got sick. I drove him to appointments, sat next to him when he couldn't sleep. I put his socks on when he couldn't bend down anymore. My sister? She flew in once a month, maybe. Said the right things, smiled for the nurses, brought gluten-free banana bread and fake apologies. But she was never really there, not when it mattered. So when the lawyer called me for the reading of the will, I thought I already knew what was coming. I wasn't greedy. I didn't expect it all, but I expected something, some piece of what we built, some acknowledgement. Instead, he read her name over and over. The house, her. The business assets, her. The bank accounts, all of it, to her. And me, a handwritten letter, folded once. I remember staring at the desk. The mahogany pattern looked like waves, like I was drowning right there in that leather chair. I unfolded the note. "I'm sorry. I had to remove you for now. Trust has been broken." What? What did that mean? Who broke it? What did he think I'd done? I left the office in a daze, and that's when it hit me. Those final months, she was always whispering. In corners, in kitchens, on walks with him in the backyard. And every time I walked in, they'd stop talking. I thought it was grief. Now I knew. It was strategy. She had planted rumors, lies that grew roots in the mind of a dying man. And just like that, she'd rewritten the ending, or so she thought. Because what she didn't know, Dad may have trusted her lies in the end, but he also left behind one more truth, a clause, a secret, and it had my name on it. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there at my kitchen table, lights off, the letter lying in front of me like it might explode if I touched it again. Trust has been broken. The sentence repeated in my head like a bad song on loop. And the more I thought about it, the more it didn't make sense. Dad and I had disagreements, sure, but betrayal? No, unless someone made it look that way. I started replaying the last few months like a movie in my head, her late-night phone calls, her sudden visits out of nowhere, how she kept volunteering to help organize Dad's paperwork. She wasn't grieving, she was digging, positioning. And I had been so caught up in caring for him, I didn't even notice I was being written out of my own bloodline. The next morning, I went back to the lawyer's office. He looked surprised to see me. "I just want to understand," I said. "How exactly did this change happen?" He opened the file, adjusted his glasses, and tapped the corner of a page like he was stalling for time. "Your father amended the will 3 weeks before he passed," he explained. He said concerns had been raised about pressure, about financial manipulation. I felt like throwing the entire table through the window. "That's not what happened," I said. My voice was quiet but shaking, and you know it. He sighed. "I had my doubts. But your sister, she came prepared. Statements, screenshots, a voicemail even." "A voicemail?" I froze. "She framed me. She faked a trail and gave it to the man who was barely holding on, who didn't have the strength to question the daughter he thought still loved him." Then the lawyer hesitated, like something was clawing at the back of his throat, begging to be said. "There was one more thing," he said, finally. "Your father included a sealed envelope, marked confidential, for you." I stared at him. "You aren't going to tell me?" "I was waiting," he said, "to see if, well, let's just say your father had doubts too, and he planned for them. He slid the envelope across the desk. Cream-colored, heavy, handwritten. My name in bold, slanted ink I knew by heart. I held it like it might burn me, because this wasn't just paper. This was my chance to find the truth, to reclaim what was stolen, and to prove that while my sister had rewritten the story, Dad had left me the final chapter. My hands were sweating, not from fear, from something deeper, like a storm that had been waiting quietly inside me was finally about to break. I opened the envelope. One single page. Typed, precise. My dad's voice practically echoing between the lines. If you're reading this, it means the will has already been executed, and you're probably furious. I want you to know, I didn't remove you because I believed the rumors. I removed you to protect you. I blinked, what? He continued. In my final days, I was surrounded by whispers, stories I couldn't verify, faces I didn't trust, including hers. I wasn't sure who was playing who, so I made a plan. What followed stopped my breath. He'd included a conditional clause in the official will, buried deep, registered privately, a clause that stated, if any beneficiary is found to have engaged in coercion, defamation, or fraud to alter the estate distribution, their claim becomes null and void, and it named me as the one empowered to trigger the investigation. But the clause had one catch. You are not to act until you have evidence. And when you do, you let the facts speak, not your anger. That was my dad. Controlled, strategic, always 10 steps ahead. I folded the letter, placed it back in the envelope, and sat still for a long time. She thought she'd won. She thought I'd walk away, angry, bitter, powerless. But she was wrong. Because while she was playing checkers with fake stories and crocodile tears, Dad and I had already played chess, and now it was my move. I went home and got to work. I pulled up my phone records, emails, texts, dates. I mapped out a timeline of everything that had happened in those last 6 months. And then I did something she never expected. I contacted the estate's legal auditor, the same one who worked with Dad on his business mergers. I forwarded him the letter, the clause, the timeline, and I asked one question. What happens if I can prove manipulation? His reply came back within an hour. Then legally, the will collapses, and she gets nothing. This wasn't revenge anymore. This was justice, crafted in silence. Because I didn't need to scream. I had the truth. And that was louder than anything she could ever say. It's strange how quiet revenge can be. No shouting, no slamming doors, no dramatic confrontations. Just steps. Calculated, precise, deadly in their silence. I started with the voicemail, the one she used to convince Dad I was manipulating him. The lawyer had it on file. I asked to hear it. It was short, choppy, me saying something about moving money and him not needing to know. Only, I never said that. Not like that. The clip had no context, no date stamp, and worse, it sounded edited. I took the audio to a forensic specialist. He confirmed it within 48 hours. This file has been tampered with. Spliced from multiple recordings. It's a fake. Strike one. Next came the screenshots. She'd shown Dad messages, screenshots supposedly between me and a friend, talking about getting my hands on the will and pressuring him before it's too late. But I dug into my cloud backups. Those texts never happened. They didn't exist. She had forged entire conversations, down to fake contact names and timestamps. Strike two. Then came the nail in the coffin. A printed document she claimed I made Dad sign, transferring part of his business to me while he was medicated, but the signature, it wasn't even his. I ran it through his financial advisor's archive. Dad had signed hundreds of legal papers over the years. Every signature aligned, except this one. It was stiff, shaky, forced. The forensic examiner confirmed it. A forgery. Strike three. I compiled everything in a single folder, labeled Restoration Claim Activation of Clause 14B. I handed it to the auditor personally. He didn't ask questions, didn't blink, just nodded. This is more than enough. 3 days later, she got the letter. Legal, cold, informing her that her inheritance was frozen pending full investigation. She called me 5 times that day. I didn't answer. She emailed, texted, even left a voicemail sobbing. But I didn't need to yell, didn't need to explain. Because she didn't just try to steal money, she tried to erase me. And now, the truth was erasing her. The news hit her like a wave. Everything was frozen. The house, the accounts, the assets she'd already started spending like she won the lottery. She tried to play it cool at first. It's just a formality, she told people. A misunderstanding. It'll clear up. But I could see it in her eyes. The mask was cracking. I didn't gloat. Didn't send her the receipts. Didn't show up to watch her squirm. I didn't need to. Because the truth was doing the work for me. And when truth moves, it doesn't knock. It kicks the damn door down. A week later, the audit report came in. Final ruling, fraud confirmed, will nullified. Clause 14B activated. Everything reverted. The estate, the businesses, the trust fund, the house she'd already claimed on Instagram as her new beginning. Yeah, that was legally mine again. She tried one last Hail Mary, had her lawyer request a private mediation, said she wanted to talk things out like family. I declined. Not out of spite, out of peace. I wasn't interested in hearing more excuses, more crocodile tears, more stories about how she didn't mean for it to go that far. Because she did. She meant every part of it. The whispers, the forged texts, the lies. She wasn't trying to survive, she was trying to erase me. And I'd spent enough years fighting for space in a family where I was already supposed to belong. So I let her go. No confrontation, no dramatics, just silence. That was my justice. And here's what people don't tell you about getting your life back. It doesn't come with fireworks, it's quiet. Like peace settling into your bones. Like knowing you don't have to fight anymore because you've already won. The first night back in the house felt surreal. Everything was the same, and yet everything had changed. The couch still dipped in the same spot Dad always sat. The porch still creaked on the third step. The kitchen still smelled like old coffee and pine wood, but now the silence wasn't heavy, it was healing. I walked room to room, not searching for ghosts, but thanking them. Thanking the version of me that once cried on the bathroom floor, thinking he'd lost everything. Thanking my younger self for not giving in to bitterness. Thanking my dad for trusting me enough to leave a backup plan. I found a photo tucked in one of his drawers. Me and him, covered in paint, laughing, standing in front of the shed we built together one summer when I was 15. I framed it, put it in the hallway, right across from the mirror. So every morning I'd remember, you're not who they tried to convince you were. You're who you chose to become despite them. My sister, she disappeared from the picture. Sold her apartment, moved states, vanished from every group chat, family gathering, even social media. I didn't chase her, didn't need closure, because the moment I stopped waiting for her to own what she did, I finally stepped into the peace I'd been trying to earn my whole life. People started asking me to speak at youth groups, at business panels, even at grief support meetings. Not because I was a success story, but because I was a survival story. Someone who got betrayed and didn't become bitter. Someone who got burned and didn't burn others in return. And slowly, without even realizing it, I became something more than the victim of someone else's scheme. I became the author of my own ending. You know, I used to think strength meant standing your ground, proving your point, defending your name in every room it was dragged through. But now I think strength is something else entirely. It's the ability to walk away quietly, with nothing in your hands but your peace and your truth. I still get asked, do you wish things had gone differently? Sure. In some alternate world, maybe we're still siblings. Maybe she never betrayed me. Maybe we inherited our father's legacy together. But here, in this world, she made her choice, and I made mine. I chose to become someone I could live with, not someone fueled by revenge, but someone who learned from pain without becoming it. My dad's lawyer sent me a letter a few weeks after the case closed. It just said, he was proud of how you handled everything. He didn't get to say it, but he knew. He saw you. I sat with that letter for a long time, not crying, just breathing, letting the words settle into my bones like warm sun on cold skin. Because when someone you love dies not knowing the full truth, and then you find out they knew it all along, that kind of peace, it's not loud. It's sacred. I don't tell this story to get sympathy. I tell it because maybe, just maybe, someone out there is going through the same thing. Someone who's been cast out by their own blood. Someone who's been lied about, written off, forgotten. And to that person, I say, you don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to burn bridges to build your future. You don't even need revenge. You just need truth. You just need truth and time and the strength to keep walking. These days, I live slow, not lazy, not lost, slow, deliberate. I wake up with the sun, not an alarm. I brew my coffee, feed claws, and sit on the porch while the world stirs to life. And you know what? That silence, it's not empty. It's earned. I used to crave noise, validation, some kind of external proof that I mattered. Now, I measure my worth in different ways. How calm I feel on a Tuesday morning. How little I care about being seen. How deeply I sleep at night. Because there's nothing left to chase or outrun. I went through hell, yes, but I didn't come out bitter. I came out clear. The house is fully mine now, not just on paper, but in spirit. The walls feel lighter, the air feels still, and for the first time, I don't walk through the front door carrying memories I can't put down. I walk in as the man I fought to become. Whole, free, unshakable. Sometimes I think about what I would say to her if I ever saw her again. Not out of spite, but out of peace. I'd probably just smile. Maybe say something simple like, we all choose who we become, and I like who I became. That would be enough. Not because she deserves closure, but because I do. And here's what I've learned. You can lose everything, money, status, relationships, reputation, and still win if you hold on to your truth. Because everything built on lies will eventually collapse. But everything built on truth stands. Even if you have to build it alone. Funny thing is, after all that silence, all that healing, people started asking me to speak. At first, I said no. Who was I to give anyone advice? I wasn't a therapist. I wasn't famous. I was just a guy who'd been lied to by someone he trusted. But then someone said something that stopped me cold. That's exactly why people need to hear you. Because you survived what others are still stuck in. So I said yes. To one group, then another, then a podcast, then a panel. And before I knew it, I was telling my story, not to relive the pain, but to show others it's possible to walk through fire and not come out bitter. One kid came up to me after a talk, 16, quiet, eyes heavy. He said, I didn't think anyone would believe me. My family acts like I'm the liar, like I made it all up. I looked him dead in the eyes. That's what liars do, I said. They twist the truth until the victim starts to doubt themselves. He didn't cry. He just stood a little holler. Like for the first time in a long time, someone saw him. And that's what this journey gave me in the end. Not revenge, not wealth, purpose. I became the person I used to need. The one who tells the truth, even when no one wants to hear it. The one who doesn't flinch when the room goes quiet. The one who knows what it's like to be erased. And made damn sure no one else feels that small again. Now, I don't live to prove anyone wrong. I live to prove myself right. right for walking away, right for not matching her poison, right for choosing peace over pride. Because when you heal for real, you don't just close the chapter, you write the next one with cleaner hands and a clearer heart. My life now? It's not flashy, not dramatic, not something you'd scroll past on Instagram and double tap because it looks perfect, but it's real, and it's mine. I spend my mornings in the garden my dad once neglected in his final months. Now it blooms, wild, unapologetic, just like me. I plant new things each season, not because I'm trying to fix the land, but because I'm learning to tend to what matters. My evenings are quiet, claws curled up at my feet, jazz in the background. Sometimes just the wind through the trees and the soft hum of peace. And it's in those moments I realize I didn't just survive her betrayal, I transcended it. See, when someone tries to destroy you, it reveals more than just their character. It shows you who you are when no one's clapping, when no one believes you, when no one's looking. And I learned I'm the kind of man who stands back up, not to get revenge, but to build something stronger in the ruins. And I no longer wait for apologies, not from her, not from anyone who stayed silent while she lied, because the truth doesn't need permission to exist. It just waits for the right moment to rise. And when it does, it clears the room. It settles the score. It restores the one thing no one can fake: integrity. These days, people say, "You seem different." And I just smile. Because I am. I'm not who I was when this started. I'm who I was always meant to be. Once I stopped trying to prove I belonged in places that were never built for Moo. If you're still here, maybe your story sounds a little like mine. Maybe someone close to you lied. Maybe they tried to erase you, your voice, your presence, your worth. And maybe, for a while, they made you believe it worked. But I want you to hear this. Clearly, they didn't destroy you. They just forced you to discover who you really are. You don't need to fight dirty to win. You don't need to scream and be believed. And you definitely don't need revenge to feel whole. You just need your truth, your quiet, your strength, the kind that grows in silence, the kind that can't be faked, the kind that doesn't beg to be seen because it already knows it's enough. There was a time I wanted her to pay, really pay. But now, I'm too busy building something she can never touch. A life rooted in clarity, in peace, in purpose. She can't reach me here. Not because I ran, but because I rose. So if you're hurting, if you're wondering whether it's worth it to keep going, let me remind you, you are allowed to outgrow the people who betrayed you. You are allowed to walk away without giving them closure. You are allowed to choose peace, even if they call it weakness. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them wonder how you stayed calm while the storm passed. Because the strongest people, they don't clap back. They rebuild. Quietly, powerfully, completely.